Hi, Prince family. It's Lauren. I'm so excited because today I get to sit down and chat with one of our authors, H.L. Voss, and they are releasing a book very soon on May 5th. So I'm going to let them jump in here. H.L. Voss, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited to talk about Recipient. Why don't you start us off and tell us what this book is about?
Absolutely. Recipient is a story of a single father who picks up his life, moves across the country, marries a guy he's never met before to give his son the life that he thinks he deserves. Um, his son lives with CP, cerebral palsy, or CP, and that kind of has limited Javier's ability to feel like he can support his son as fully as he wants to. And so by entering into this marriage contract with Gavin, he's able to build this life for his son that he's always wanted.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got a lot going on here. We've got single
Yeah,
dad, we've got romance, we've got marriage contracts, all the best things.
all the best things. Yeah.
So where did the inspiration for this story come from?
So in its nascent phases, it was actually a fan fiction. That was how it initially began. But as I was getting a couple thousand words in, I realized those characters were not able to tell the story the way that I wanted to. And so I rebranded it and really delved into these characters as their own um, beings and was able to kind of grow their character and learn who they were rather than who their fan fiction counterparts was. One of my beta readers originally like read through was like and literally was like, "This is not Javier. This is the boy you based him on." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're totally right. I got to fix that." So like it was great to have a beta reader that knew both sides because they were able to say things like that and be like, "You are leaning on something that isn't what this is anymore." So that's where it started out.
I love that. I didn't know that this started in the fan fiction realm, which I love fan fiction.
Oh gosh, me too.
I kind of love hearing that. And I'm curious, what was the most difficult, I guess, besides the characters? Like you said, your beta
Mhm,
reader was able to point that stuff out. What was the
mhm.
most difficult part from making that switch from the fan fiction to an original story?
Absolutely. So I've been writing fan fiction for years, and I have found that I'm really, really good at giving just enough of the world to intrigue my readers.
Mm.
And I can do that because they know the characters. When the characters are new and the world is a little bit new, I have to give a little more than I'm used to. I love being able to be like, oh, here's actually one of my other beta readers likes to call it the next door neighbor's barbecue. I can smell that there's a barbecue next door, but I don't get to eat the barbecue. And I'm like, I do that. And it's great in fan fiction because you're invested in these characters. You
Mhm.
get this hint of this world, and it's just you get to savor it. But when both of those things are new, that doesn't work anymore. So I had to put so
Yeah.
much more on the page than I was used to.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love that analogy, by the way.
I know. He is like he's a writer as well, as you can well imagine. But
Yeah.
he's great. He's been accusing me of that for 5 years, and I still do it.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, can you talk a little bit about what makes this story so unique?
Absolutely. I think I mean, you alluded to it earlier. There's a lot of different pieces that kind of all came together into this beautiful synergy that is able to hold up. We talked about Javier's side with his son, Alejandro, and being able to support him. But then on the other side, you've got his husband, Gavin, who is it's trying to support his sister and trying to get her out of an abusive marriage. And so there's so many different pieces that just came together really synergistically.
Mhm.
And that's kind of been the most important thing for me in that.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about our two main characters. So we've got Javier, which is our
Hmm.
single dad, and
Yep.
Gavin, who, correct me if I'm wrong, he is a firefighter, but he has a trust fund.
Yeah, so he grew up with kind of the silver spoon kind of setting, and then kind of got to the point where he's like, I don't want this for me all the time anymore. And so he kind of is the rogue in the family that went off and was like, I'm gonna go be a firefighter. I'm gonna go like rub elbows with the common person and like realize, oh, like I really am super privileged, and I need to like come down like 17 notches
Mhm.
to be the kind of person that I want to be. So.
I love that. Yeah. And is so marriage contract. We've got marriage
Yeah,
contract, arranged marriage, which I personally love.
yeah,
Everyone who's watching this is probably like, Lauren, what trope don't you love? Which is fair, but I do love an arranged marriage. But something that I really love about arranged marriage is these people didn't organically fall in love before getting married. And so the best part of those stories usually is this chemistry that they get to discover. So I was curious about, kind of the dynamics of Javier and Gavin and where this chemistry between them stems from.
absolutely. I think some of the chemistry is that Gavin at heart is a romantic, and so he sees initially Javier as someone to save, and he can like be the white knight, and then kind of and Javier is like, no, dude, I'm not about that. Like, we're just this is a business deal. We're in a business deal right now. And so Gavin brings this like romanticized vision, and Javi kind of puts a stop to that. And so Gavin has to immediately reevaluate how he sees this person, and Javi has to go, oh, maybe I can be a little more open than I was initially. And so that chemistry of like coming in with one vision and version of what things are going to be, and realizing the other person isn't who you maybe expected or who you thought you were getting into, or even like necessarily who you wanted. But
Mm,
there's something in there that you're coming in with a common goal. And so that, like, we're here for our family is something that really brought them together. And then the chemistry, like physically, really is for Javi is a little bit that like Gavin's taller than him. Gavin's bigger than him. Gavin's like more of a physical presence than him. And Javi's like, I'm not used to that. Like I'm not a small human, but like Gavin's a big guy. And Gavin kind of on the flip side is like, this is still someone that I can hold and take care of and doesn't know a lot about the intimacy that we're going to be running into. And so I can support him in that way.
yeah, I love that. Sticking with kind of the topic of this arranged marriage trope. So Javi and Gavin are put into this arranged marriage. They go through a matchmaking company, which I think is really cool. And this is technically a contemporary romance, but you've pitched it as, it's through a queer lens and it is the roles of marriage in society, and you've kind of played with those a little bit. Do you want to talk about what makes this situation unique for Javi and Gavin?
Absolutely. The big thing for me is I didn't want their queerness to be the problem. I feel like the problem. I feel like in so many queer stories, it's like, oh, your queerness is why we have an issue. Your queerness is why your parents don't support you. Your queerness. I wanted this to be like, I wanted other things to come up. So I wanted to build a world where having two people of the same gender in a marriage contract was not uncommon. And so what it really boiled down to, if we think about what marriage is in our world, it's financial, it's property, it's stuff. That's what marriage really boils down to. And so for me in this world, marriage boils down to who's taking care of the kids, who's
Mm,
supporting the children, and who is caring for them in that really uh, nurturing way. And so, which for me as an educator, like I'm all about how to support kids. That's really important to me. That's at my core of my being. And so to be able to say, okay, the person that's taking care of the kids, that's taking care of the home, that's taking care of the practical matters around the house, that's the recipient, and they're choosing that role. They're
mm,
choosing to be in that role in the relationship. Versus the provider is the one that steps out into the world, brings in the resources, and helps the marriage and relationship function in the broader society. And that, because in a lot of ways, that is the roles that we used to put on women and men in that order. And I think that being able to say, no, these are roles that people step into intentionally
mhm.
is super, super important to me. I'm meeting up with a friend from undergrad in a couple weeks, and they're in exactly that gender flip situation.
Yeah.
She goes in and she's a veterinarian. She works out in the world, and she brings in the resources, and he takes care of their fur babies and tutors. And
Yeah.
like so, there's this version of the world where people get to choose what role they take and not just fall into it because of their gender. And
Mm.
so that's kind of where I came at it with the queer lens.
Yeah, I love that. And I love too that this isn't like a sci-fi idea, right? But because it's not how our society functions, it feels so, it's refreshing. And I love that you mentioned that you didn't want the queerness to be the problem of the story. While those stories, I think, obviously have a place, right?
Absolutely.
Need to broaden it too,
Yeah.
and this is, I love that. And just kind of sticking on that, as far as, how did you approach representing queer joy and identity in Recipient, especially because you wanted to not make that the problem, but that's also what this book is about, and I'm curious about that.
Well, and I think the big thing for me is that like it's just there. It's
Mhm.
not this thing that is like we're shining a spotlight on it. It's like, oh, like Javi gets to a place where he's ready to be more intimate, and it's just a thing that they just talk about. It's a thing that they just do. It's embedded in their narrative, and it's not like we're gonna pop the champagne and like, oh, look, we're talking about our queerness. It's like we love each other. We're just people that care about each other, that are important to each other, and like that. There's absolutely a place for stories about queerness. 100%. I love me a story about queerness. That has a place. And there's a place where our love and our joy is just as important, just as valued, just as natural, just as embedded as heterosexual love.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm really excited about this story specifically because, like you said, there's a place for all those types of stories, but this is the story too that we need, where it's normalized and where it's just part of life, and it's not about, who's who. It's about who loves who. And I think that's really beautiful. Um, so while you were writing this story, what were three of the most important things to you in order to tell this story the right way?
Absolutely. I think pacing the intimacy was super, super important. Again, coming from the fan fiction world where we know the characters, it's really easy to just jump into bed together. And I
Yeah.
did that a little bit in my zero draft of this. And my first editor was like, Boss, what are you doing? Boss, come on. I was like, okay, I'll work on it. And
Yeah.
so pulling back a little bit was an important piece, but also making sure that like I got where I wanted to get. Because
Mm,
again, that second draft, third draft, I went back and I read. I'm like, there are two sex scenes in this book. That is not enough for me. That is not the writer that I am. Intimacy, physical intimacy is important to me, and
mhm.
helping it be integrated and normalized is important to me. And so finding that balance between not jumping into bed too soon, but also getting to the resolution that I wanted was that part, that arc was challenging and important for me. Really was the first thing. The second thing is Javi's kid, Alejandro, and making sure that he is respected of his own and has his own agency and is his own character and is like not just an extension of Javi,
Mhm.
that he has a personality and that he is not just his disability. So making sure that he came in and was a valued member of the family was so, so important to me. Um, and the third thing, this is going to sound really persnickety, names are very important to me. And so attending to who calls who what at
Mm.
what point in the story was so important. The number of times I had to go back and be like, oh, wait, you're not calling that person that yet. I got to go change like 17 names.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me because like names have power. And that's really important to me that we attend to that and that we give people the respect of their name that they deserve.
I love that. Yeah. And just kind of sticking again with Alejandro, I want to talk a little bit more about him, because that's something else that you do in this book really well is there's, disability representation. And you mentioned earlier that Alejandro has cerebral palsy. And so I was just curious if you wanted to talk a little bit more about him and the importance of his character in the story, especially since you said so beautifully you didn't want him to just be an extension, right? Oh, he's not just there for the single dad trope title, right? He has a purpose.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if you wanted to share more about that.
Absolutely. And I think this I want to ascribe a lot of this to my first editor, Callie Stoker, because she went through and a couple times was like because she has a son with a disability. And again, this is something that I know tangentially from my work with students, but
Hmm.
it's not something that it's not my lived experience.
Hmm.
But she would read and she's like, this is a no, this is a no, this is great, this is a no. And I was really able to reframe my thinking and be like, okay, like he really is his own person. He
Hmm.
really is someone, and it's little things like, oh yeah, like the wheelchair is coming from Las Vegas to Denver with them. Like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
And things that like not this not being my lived experience, and I was like,
Right.
why? And so making those connections and just and honoring that like disability is a part of our world in all kinds
Mhm.
of ways. Yeah, I'm neurodivergent, so I deal with brain spiciness, and that whole layer of my world gives me a little bit of insight, but it's an invisible disability. It's nothing that everybody sees. I don't have, mobility aids of any kind. I don't have. I mean, I wear glasses, but they're like glasses. Glasses are an accepted kind of aid for our world. So I think for me to really internalize that element of it, first in myself of like, who is he? How does he move through the world? What does he value? What does he like? What's important to him? How does he feel about his mom? Like, how does that play into things? All of those layers, once I had those, I was able to build him into a character that really was fully realized as a person
Yeah.
rather than a flat trope.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. He's a side character, but he's not a CPU. He's not just
Exactly.
there to move around.
He's not an NPC.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. NPC. I said CPU. Oh my
It's
gosh.
okay. It's okay.
Anyways, um, so what is your favorite thing about this story, if you have one? I know that's a hard
Yeah, I
question.
know. It's a hard question. I honestly think it's probably the scene right before or right at. So in the story, there's some hesitation around intimacy, and I think when that script flips and we're able to see, oh, okay, I am ready to be physically intimate, that is just so juicy and fun, and I think that might be my favorite bit.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Um,
Yeah.
what do you want readers to take away from this novel?
I think just a critical thought process around the roles we play in our relationships. Who
Yeah.
are we in our relationships and why are we that person in our relationships? Does it align with what we want? And how can we ensure that we maintain the relationships that are important to us and honor ourselves at the same time?
Yeah, yeah. And I thought you might want to share as well. That's kind of where the title comes from, correct?
Yeah, yeah. The title is um actually Javier's title in the book. So rather than and this comes back to the names are important piece.
Hmm.
Rather than husband and wife or husband and husband or wife and wife, which are gendered, so like makes it complicated when you got a non-binary person even on that layer. Partner, spouse, those are great too. But it again, it's focused on your gender identity in the situation. So switching it to recipient and provider really focuses on what are you bringing to the family unit? What are you bringing to the community that you're building with the people that you care about? So that's where it comes from. Is Javier's title in the in the book. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what can readers expect next from you? Are you working on anything? Do you have anything coming up?
yes, I'm actually going to be a part of Five Prince's holiday novella rollout. I'm so excited. I finished my draft 2 weeks ago, and
Yay.
it came in shorter than I'm used to, but I can always juice it up if I need to. So it'll be so I'm very excited about that. That one is a sapphic romance. So I'm very excited about that one because that's not an area that I've dipped my toes in as much. I have defaulted to the MM romance a lot more, but man, there's something about a sapphic romance you just can't beat. So,
I have to agree. I am also part of this secret project. I am also writing Sapphic, and it's my first time writing Sapphic, and I'm loving
it's
it.
so much fun. Like,
It's
and it's so
so
different because, like, with dudes, you've got the like, oh, I'm gonna be like, not tell you how I'm feeling, and I'm gonna hide my emotions. And
fun.
girls are like, let's move in together.
Yes. It's like all of the emotions all the time, and I'm here for
It's
it.
just so much fun. And then I'm also working on the first book of a romantasy, hopefully trilogy.
Oh, fun.
That is, yeah, it's that one is one that kind of focuses. It's set in a declining empire, and it's got some fun physics in the world that are going to be really fun to play with, and so I'm having a lot of fun with that too.
Oh, how exciting. Well, where can readers find you and connect with you online and keep up to date with these releases when they come out?
Absolutely. I'm writer HL Voss on Twitter and Instagram, and then I also have a website hlvoss.com, which will have all of the information about my upcoming releases and will allow you to join my mailing list.
Yay, definitely go and check them out online. Follow HL Voss everywhere. And also, not to not to mention, I don't want to forget, but it came out a different word. It's not Monday, but I feel like it's a Monday.
It's a Friday afternoon. It's kind of it's like it's the opposite, but it's the same energy.
Truly, yes, no, it's
Same
truly it
energy.
is. Anyways, just a reminder, Recipient is coming out on May 5th. So please make sure you check that out. And like I said, go follow HL Voss so you can keep up to date with their other releases as well. It was so nice having you on today.
It was so great being on. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, of course. Well, congratulations on your
Thank
release.
you.
I loved seeing you get your ARC copy.
It's right here. It's sitting right here. I take it with me. I almost brought it to work today so I could read it. I'm like, I should not be reading that at work.
It's so beautiful. I love it. Well, congrats and thanks again for chatting with me. And don't forget, May 5th, Recipient is going to be out in the world.